And that's us live. So, welcome to I was going to say another episode of Diary of a CEO, but that's SEO. But that's not what this is. This is a live Q&A hosted by myself and Daris. Shreya is busy away. Well, where is she? She's in the safari. She's in
Safari.
Cougar National Park or something in South Africa, which is great. So she can't be with us today. But yeah, I thought it'd be really, really interesting if we just sat down, myself and Daris, and kind of just went through the biggest pain points, the biggest tips that we can kind of give in our industry right now. We chat with hundreds of agencies. We've chatted with thousands of SEOs. And I always think it's funny when people pull me up on those figures, and I'm like, they're not actually inflated. Like, we genuinely have. So I thought we'd just come on and kind of just do a Q&A. We've kind of got quite a few questions that people have asked us on socials that we've already got already. But if you're listening on this, please drop your comments below, and we'll get round to them. But anyway, Daris, do you want to kick off with the first question, or will I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So I think a good one to start on is so obviously we're a recruitment company that specializes in SEO. We deal with a lot of companies that are hiring. When is the best time to hire?
It's hard to predict. You always want to bring on that person before there's an influx of work. You never really want to be playing catch up with it. But a lot of companies that we're seeing at the minute, they do seem to be having it a bit too late. Especially with like senior positions. Most senior candidates, I think, as well, at the minute are having about 3 months notice period. So when you do bring on like a bad piece of work and you're looking for that person to play catch up, you can't really afford to be waiting a quarter of the year for that person. I think companies need to put more emphasis on their forecasting, predicting when that work's going to come in, and start that hiring process a couple of months earlier.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think it's even more than that, because yes, it's 3 months for a senior position in the UK, but even if we take away the notice period, like, how long does it actually take somebody to get up and running to their full capacity? It's for somebody really, really good, like, I'd want to say a month and a half. So yeah, I think companies really, really need to forecast in. And what was interesting, I was at an event by OMG Center by Chris Simmons back in October, I think it was. And somebody was doing a talk on how, to business owners and to businesses, like, business acquisition is such a big thing. Like, everybody puts big importance on this, like, obviously. But the importance to talent acquisition isn't nearly as important to a lot of companies. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of companies out there that understand that recruiting and building, like, one of the best teams out there is like one of the best things that you can do. What I think is really interesting is Stephen Bartlett. If you ask him what he does, I haven't been lucky enough to ask him what he does, but I've watched loads of interviews about him. And what he says he actually does, of course, he labels himself as an investor and all of this stuff. But the biggest thing that he talks about is that his sole purpose is to build the best possible team and then build the culture to match that. That's the two things that he talks about all the time. So I get so much recruitment advice from watching Stephen Bartlett. He's got a great episode or series at the minute on YouTube called Behind the Brand, and it's like his day-to-day life. And he always puts little nuggets in there about a 7-step hiring process, how he builds culture and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we went on a bit of a tangent on that one. But let's go on to that, right? So Daris, okay, so somebody's forecasted correctly, they need to hire. So let's say they need to hire an SEO manager. What kind of screening processes or what kind of interview tips have you got for the hiring manager for this company?
Yeah, well, probably the most important one. I think it actually helps us stand out a lot more from all our job descriptions. I think people, especially agencies and stuff like that at the minute, are rushing job descriptions.
Hey,
Like they're
Stephen.
not, they're not going into detail. They're not really selling the company culture or anything like that. They're creating, whether it be a chat GPT generated one like that, and then whenever they do get applicants for it, whether it be an SEO manager role that's remote, they get a couple of hundred applicants. We're seeing LinkedIn applications increase tenfold at the minute. Then they don't have the systems, they don't have the processes to manage it. And it's such a negative effect, and probably one that they don't realize that they're having on their own company. If say if what like 300 odd people apply on LinkedIn, and say even half of them are good or fit the role perfectly, if you don't have the systems in place, or if you're not ready to hit the ground running, that's half of people that you're not getting back to, ruining your reputation. You don't have even missed opportunities down the line as well. You've burnt a lot of bridges. It's what people don't see.
Yeah, and no, I've said it for ages now. I think one of the worst things a company can do that's hiring is to throw up a quick job ad. And why I say quick job ad is if you haven't invested in the processes completely, then honestly, you're about to burn your reputation so easily. But then, of course, if you have been smart and you've invested in the hiring process and you know exactly what you're doing, then of course, by all means, put a job ad up. But Daris, exactly what you said. You put a job ad up, you're not ready for it. You've got loads of applicants. And the thing is as well that I think a lot of hiring managers and companies need to get into their heads as well is that for somebody that, let's say they're unemployed and they're looking for a job, right? They're going to be applying for as many jobs that suit their criteria as they can. But that's like a job is one of the most important things for somebody. So somebody's spending their time going out and they're researching the company and they're looking at it, they're like, oh, I could be a great fit at that company. And they're probably spending, I don't know, let's say over 15, 20 minutes looking at the company, seeing what you guys are doing social and all that. Like it means a lot to them. And then for you to get an absolute influx of applications where you can't reply to everybody, and then that person's like, oh, well, I applied for X and I didn't hear back from them. And I just think in terms of the long-term game, it's so bad for your reputation. Then the other thing is as well is if you haven't invested into your interview process, we've had plenty of candidates that have come to us and they'll be like, oh, we mentioned a company name, or they just talked about it to us, and they're like, oh, the interview process was one of the worst things that I went through. And again, like it doesn't take a long time. Like for me anyway, Daris, I'd love your 2 cents on it after. But for me, an interview process should be one chemistry call, whether that be a 20 to 30-minute call on a video call or if it's in person, and just kind of chat about the career history, what kind of your company's doing, and just see if it's a nice fit like that way. Secondly, some sort of test, whether that be a technical test, a presentation. So you set the test. You give them whatever it is, 3, 4, 5 days to prepare. Ideally, it would be paid as well. And then they present it to you and maybe the rest of the leadership team. And then after that, you've got the chemistry call done. You see their ability of their test. You might want to ask for some references or anything else just to make sure what they're saying is legit. And then after that, it's kind of a call with maybe the leadership team or the hiring manager again. It's just going over some last few questions and then have it in your head before that interview. If these questions are all asked perfectly, then we're going to offer you the job. And that's when you offer the job. I don't think we need these 5, 10 interview stages. Daris, what do you think?
No, big time. I think it definitely puts off, especially like the sort of the air players and things like that who don't have time. Like they're managing huge companies, managing huge clients. They don't have time to spend 8 hours doing a task that may or may not lead to another offer. I think I spoke about it in SEO exclusive in my talk as well. Like 2, max 3 stages is all you need. These air players that you're looking for, they're not going to be on the job market for too long. If they are actively looking, they'll get snapped up quick. You're going to lose out if you have a 5-step interview process.
Yeah, and I think as well, like we've had to say it to clients in the past that, especially if you guys are using us, like we thoroughly vet our candidates. And I think one of the biggest things that I love telling our clients is that in our near 3 years of business, we've only had to give 1 refund. And that wasn't due to SEO ability, it was due to a mental health issue that cropped up. So that's how well we vet our SEOs and how much we know our candidates. So if we do 2 or 3 stages our side, and then like I think clients need to understand that within that as well, it's like it's also going away and tweaking your CV, and it's taking Daris's advice on how to stand out better this way and putting a portfolio together and all of this. Like it's not just time on calls type of thing. It's all the work that's put behind that. And then you also want them to do a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stage interview with you. Like, come on, guys, that's nearly a full-time job. So yeah.
So when they do get it right, and when everything goes well, what sort of advice or what sort of onboarding process have you seen that's really worked well for our clients?
Look, this is one thing that I've stressed for ages. Since you've ever been with us, Daris, I've always said this. I've always said that we can do all the recruitment, all the recruitment wonders in the world. We're magicians, right? We really are. So we can go and do that. But if you don't have the right onboarding process in your company, then they're going to be out within 3 months. The way I love thinking about it is, does anybody remember their first day of school? So your first day of school, you're nervous, you don't really want to be there, you just want to be at home, you want to be back at nursery with your old friends, but you're into this new school, and you remember that teacher that's really nice to you. It's normally a female, for me anyway, right? It was normally just somebody really lovely and maternal would come up and like, oh, Josh, I'm sorry that you're going through this or whatever. And I remember they introduced me to one of my best friends at the time, Jordan Wilson, actually. And again, like that stays in your head. Like I'm now 25. That was what, 14, 15 years ago, maybe more. I don't know. But I remember that exact moment. And I feel like the onboarding process is like the honeymoon phase. It's what sets the tone for the rest of your career at that company. So companies that genuinely invest into the onboarding process and take it really seriously and make sure that everybody feels as welcomed as possible and they've got all the material and all the resource as they can, then you're set up for those employees staying for a long time, and then your retention going through the roof as well. But yeah, I think one of the best things as well, like our clients ask us for advice on onboarding. The best thing that you can do is ask your most recent new starters or ask anybody that started recently and just be like, look, please be as open as possible with me. When you started, was there anything that you were missing out on? Was there a certain department that you didn't think that you set off on the right foot because we didn't introduce you properly? Was there any tech stacks? Was there anything that we could have done? And that's the best way of just, okay, there was this that we didn't properly do. Okay, yeah, that's an easy fix. And again, like people think that doing things like this, like sitting down and vetting your interview process, sitting down and vetting your onboarding process and building it takes max a few hours. And then come back to it every 6 months and just add to it and take away bits that don't actually work. It's very easy to do. But if anybody is looking at an onboarding resource, we've got one on our website. It's completely free. We use the VP of SEO at Brain Labs. He's very, very passionate about onboarding and culture and all of this. He's a great guy, Daris Talent. So we went through that and we built that out using a few other people in our network as well. So you can find that in the footer of our website and it's there for free.
Yeah, the way I look at it, just like a nice analogy, it's almost like the front shop window to like your whole internal processes. Like if somebody comes in, like that's going to be the first thing they see is the onboarding thing. If that's bad, like what's the rest of the process is going to look like? Like how is your client onboarding process going to look like? Everything like that is just going to send red flags to them straight away, and they'll have to be on the lookout already before they've even finished their probation.
Yeah. I'm just flicking through our onboarding process. Again, it's completely free, guys. So you can go in there. It shows what you should include on your welcome package, how you should show your organizational chart, line management, tech stack, how to deal with remote teams, feature them on social medias, partner them with a buddy, conduct entry interviews. And then there's a whole bit from Daris Talent. There's what to do in the first week, what to do in the first 90 days. There's so much information on there. I'm very proud of that resource as well. I know the team worked very hard on that. Moving on, Daris, a big one that might cut close to the heart here. Negotiating salaries, let's leave pay rises for a bit because I'd love to come on to that. But negotiating salaries, how should candidates go about it?
Yeah, obviously it is a fine line. You know, candidates want as much as possible. You know, job market's not in a great state at the minute. A lot of good SEOs out there looking for roles at the minute. But my always thing is that companies will have a bracket or a salary range. I would never ask for more than what the job stated, unless you've maybe had initial conversations in like the first interview, and that could be a potential. If you're a little bit under, if they offer you a little bit under, they're not hitting you the top salary range of the role, I wouldn't take that as like a negative. You can ask why. Like, is there anything I don't have? You might be missing a bit of experience that would get you into that sort of higher end of that salary bracket. But from what I've noticed from my client's point of view, they're not necessarily going to pick the one with the most experience. There could have been another candidate who got to the same stage of interview as you and didn't have or had more experience, but they liked your personality, they liked the way you thought, and they liked the ideas you were going to bring to the table, and that's why they've sort of took that risk on you and invested in you that way. And ask them, is there a roadmap after probation? Can I get up to this level, or how can I go about that? Is it performance related? If I bring on X amount of clients, can I get commission on that? And things like that. Like clients will always be happy to sort out a roadmap for people who are successful.
Yeah, and I think the reason I said it cuts close to the heart is recently we had one of our great clients. We had a final stage interview. Candidate was perfect fit for the client. Everything was going flying colors, and at the end, the client rang the candidate. So we try and do all communication because we're professionals within negotiating salaries and all of this, and we can be the middleman where it comes to, let's say a client wants to say something but they don't want to say it too hardcore to the candidate. We're able to like talk in a way that benefits both sides. But anyway, this time the client went to the candidate to find out what day they could start. So they weren't going to offer them the job yet. And anyway, it turned into that. And then what it turned into was, basically the client thought that they had read some really bad negotiation tactics on LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever it was. And they just, the way that he negotiated was that he would leave within 6 months if something came up that was 2, 3, 4, 5K pay rise. And they obviously want somebody that's long term. And the funny thing is that we know that this company, not that money's not an issue, money's obviously important for every company, but I know that these guys would reward anybody that was flying once they started. So anyway, that was a bit of a headache. But again, like I think the biggest thing in that is, and like even when it comes to pay rises as well, is the biggest thing that you can do is be transparent without trying to play a little games or tactics or anything like that. So even when it comes to pay rises, like Daris, we've talked about this loads. In fact, one of our candidates that I placed over a year ago at a great company messaged me 2 or 3 days ago, and he was saying, absolutely love the company. I've grown so much. They've brought me on to everything, right? He's absolutely in love with the company. But he was like, look, it's coming up to a year since I've been here. Do I normally, like, is it normal to sit down and have like an annual review to talk about pay rises? What way do I go about that? First thing I said to him, I was like, thank you so much for coming to me, because I was like, the amount of people that muck this up is crazy. And I hear about it nearly a few times every week. And the biggest red flag you can do asking for a pay rise is to bring, let's say you're an SEO manager on whatever, 50K salary, and you've been at the company for a year and you want a pay rise. And you've been great at the company, all relationships with management and everything is great. And you come and you've got, let's say their competitor has got an SEO manager roll up for 60K. And you bring that in and you're like, look, Greg, or whatever you want to call your manager, look, Greg, I've been doing really well for the last year. I've seen this, and you gotta just shove it in his face. So yeah, 60K salary. It's a year less experience than I have, so I've got more experience than what they're actually asking for. And it paints the complete wrong image. So the advice that I give to talk about pay rises is, first of all, what you need to do is you need to find out how you directly tie into the revenue of the business, right? And depending if you're an SEO, digital PR, or whatever role it is, it should be an easy enough metric. It should be what your goals and your KPIs are. And if you don't know, the easiest thing that you can do is just ask. Just be like, look, I want to have a look at what I do holistically to the company. Just a quick question, but my actual job, how does it tie into the revenue of the business, right? People are going to answer you that. They're not going to ignore that. They'll be, oh, he's really interested in talking about revenue of the company. Fantastic. He doesn't just love technical terms and all this, right? So once you find that out, they're going to give you an objective measure. So all you have to do is ask them, look, do you mind if we have a quick meeting? I want to discuss just my performance, right? That kind of gives the indication of what way you want that to go. You sit down and you just ask things like, look, right, I know that if I do X, Y, and Z, it increases the revenue of the business. What would it take for me to make X? right? And it could be, I don't know, whatever you're asking, whatever you think you genuinely deserve. And there's a lot of, I hope I don't get in trouble for it, but there's a lot of loopy people out there that think they deserve nearly double the salary than what they're on. And I'm sorry to say it, but there's some juniors that are expecting like 50K salaries at the minute. It makes no sense. And we're dealing with them all the time. And it's like politely telling somebody, well, listen, that's not how it's going to go about. So they're going to give you an objective measure. And by doing this, you're setting a clear expectation. You're basically telling your manager that, look, you want to put more work in to increase the revenue of the business, and you'd like a small percentage of it. That's like, it's as easy as that. And I think it works a lot better in smaller companies because you only have like an entrepreneurial person that you can chat to, whereas if it's like a massive corporation, it's quite hard to get there and it's quite hard to sign off on things. But if you're at a small agency and you've been there for a year, and when I say small to mid-sized agency, up to maybe 100, 150 people, it's quite kind of easy to chat to the CEO or chat to whoever is running things. And yeah, I think that's the best way to go about it. And people get that wrong all the time. Right, moving on. Unless, Daris, have you got anything to add to that?
No, that was, you pretty very much ticked off everything I was going to say. I think nobody likes having their arm bent in negotiations. Like if you go in strong, you're instantly going to put them on the back foot, and they're not going to like it. So they're going to fight fire with fire, and it's never going to end well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. That if anybody's listening to this, the way Daris has come to me, asked for a pay rise before. I won't even go into it, but let's just say it wasn't the advice he was given on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I should have listened to those.
Anyway, okay, cool. So, Daris, I think this is the most common thing that we get all the time is what way can people stand out in the interview process?
There is a lot, like from initial sort of CVs to actually getting onto that first call. In my eyes, having a nailed down CV, a nailed down LinkedIn profile is crucial. If people go on, I've had companies recently turn away people because their CV's got spelling mistakes in it. Like if there's 100 odd applicants and you can't even spell, the date of birth right or something like that, like you're never going to get through. A lot of tips I'm seeing at the minute is what I'm recommending is people create if you don't add in as many sort of side projects and stuff like that on your CV as well, but create a portfolio. Clients like to see visuals and stuff like that as well. Just create like a link to like a Google document on your CV that says like maybe you've referenced it in the CV with like a result or something. Just say like see more here, and then have a full sort of portfolio of sort of SEMrush graph results, everything like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be good. Like the results don't always have to be going up. If you took like a big crash after like the helpful content update or something like that, say like why it was affected, say like what your strategies you introduced to like mitigate that and how you got it back up to where it was before. Clients just like to see the way you think and how you sort of approach different situations. I think that's crucial.
Yeah, I think what's really important if we're talking about CVs, I personally think CVs are dead. I think there's so much more you can do that isn't just a CV. But the CV, what is it on average? I think somebody looks at it for 6 seconds.
6 seconds, yeah.
It's great. There was a study done recently where somebody put those like eye scanners on his recruitment team, or on the hiring team, and basically what they found is that people would just use like an F format. So when recruiters were looking at the CV, it was kind of the experience, as in like your personal bio or whatever you call it, and then just like kind of your career history, and that was kind of it. But I think the importance is if you've got 6 seconds to showcase your skills, I don't think spelling mistakes should be a thing in there. And as well as that, is it not like 80% of CVs don't get shortlisted by hiring managers? So as I said, I think CVs are dead, but to get in the door, I think you need to have a good CV. And again, we talk about this loads. We've got a free resource on our website called SEO Interview Blueprint. And it has everything you need in terms of CV, in terms of setting up for your interview. And again, Daris, what you mentioned, I think the biggest thing within, especially SEO, is having SEMrush results in there, having href reports, having anything that you can actually showcase, having an affiliate site linked, having your website that you help a friend on, anything like that. Somebody that is within SEO can actually go in and look and be like, okay, these guys actually know what they're talking about, and move forward from that. But
what else that I've been recommending as well at the minute, like candidates have approached me saying like, oh, I really saw this job post like for this company and I really like the company. But again, with like the AI tools and stuff at the minute, people CVs are getting spammed out to every sort of role. So could be like 500 applicants on it that you're never going to get seen. I've been recommending people like have a look at the company on LinkedIn, get in touch with the hiring manager, get in touch with like the head of SEO, like message him, say like, listen, I really like that job post. I think I'd be a great fit. Ask them or tell them why you want to work there, not just like don't just send them a CV. Tell them why you want to work there, like you like the culture, you like the
Yeah.
clients they're working with, etc. Send them your CV. Ask them if they would like a portfolio or anything like that of similar work that you've carried out that they might be working on at the minute and things like that. It's worth a chance. So you're gonna most likely get into the first call before somebody who just sends a CV across. Like,
Well, do you know what I think is funny is like I remember when I was a kid that when I was trying to get my first job, like my parents would be like, right, print your CV off and then just walk about the town and hand them in, right? Probably not the best idea today, but if you were in London or if you were in a big city where there was a lot of roles, I honestly think where are the days gone where people would just go into the office, be like, look, I love your company, I really want a chance to work here. Can I chat to somebody? Have you guys got any positions? Okay, you don't have any positions. Do you mind if I just put my CV and stuff here? I'd love to get
mm-hmm.
the chance. I see you guys down at Brighton SEO, whatever it is, something like that. And again, like I feel like the 2024 version of that is what I would do if I was on the job market is I would have everything in stellar condition, my CV, my portfolio, my affiliate sites, everything ready to go. I would have references from people that I was chatting that were in my network and industry leaders, all of that. And what I'd do is I'd go, if I've seen a job on LinkedIn, I would try and, what you kind of said, Daris, I'd try and find like 2 or 3 points of contact within that company. The hiring manager, maybe a SEO director, and maybe the CEO of a small enough company. I would connect
Mm-hmm.
with them on LinkedIn and I would send all 3 of them an individual personalized loom about myself. And again, I wouldn't bore them too much about myself, but I would talk about it and I would show my passion for joining the company. I've researched you guys extensively. I know maybe you've got a friend that works at the company, something like that. I've seen you guys at the stand at Brighton SEO. I've seen this. I love what you guys are doing. I'd love the chance to work with you guys. You don't mention salary. You don't mention anything. You just
Yeah,
want to join them. And I
thank you
think
very
what's
much.
great is Sammy's just left a great comment, and
Yeah,
it kind of goes on to what I think a lot of people are lazy today. And what Sammy's just said is what he does when interviewing is that I do many audits when interviewing with interesting companies and try to offer as much free value upfront. It worked great in the past. This, again, it's going above and beyond. If there is 100 fantastic SEOs out there capable of getting one job, how are you going to stand out? What Sammy's done there is a perfect example of it. Daris, we've got so many case studies of our candidates going above and beyond
mm-hmm.
and getting jobs at companies where maybe we've got one where they needed in-house SaaS experience and he didn't actually have that. And he was up against 8 other people that had in-house SaaS experience. And he got the job because as soon as he went on to the chemistry call, he just politely said, do you mind if I just share my screen for a minute? I just kind of did like a mini audit last night. It's not very extensive, but it's just something of like some changes that I would do. And he went through it and he ended up getting the job. It's
Yeah.
exactly what Sammy said. Also, Sammy's asked a question. I'm curious about CV content be LinkedIn profile content. I love these questions, Sammy. Does it make sense to build your CV with the LinkedIn tool? If not, how different should your CV be? Does a nice design matter? So I think you'll get 2 different answers here. Daris, do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I really don't like the LinkedIn tool for creating CVs. I think it's just they all look very standardized, very boring. Um, I nice design, it doesn't necessarily matter. Like I don't really care if somebody has like if they do, it's not like a negative thing. But if somebody's got like a nice clean Google Doc that is just straightforward and easy to read, I like that as well. As long as you structure it nicely and there's no big blocks of paragraphs, it's nicely bullet pointed. You can see if you quick glance the career history, a quick summary of the client, maybe the clients you're working with, and sort of key highlights within that role. I see a lot of people try and squeeze as much information about like what they did literally Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every day for the past 2 years. Literally just hit the highlights, what your sort of overall main tasks were. And yeah, that's my advice.
So, Sammy, anytime anybody sends me a CV, I will glance through it, and the next thing I do, probably within 10 seconds, if I just want to see quickly if they're an SEO director, how long have they been an SEO director at? Is it a company I know? What kind of were they doing? How many people in the team were they managing? Quick things like that. and then straight away I'll click their LinkedIn. So they'll normally have a URL at the top. They click their LinkedIn, and that's where I can see like a cleaner kind of side of their experience. I can see if they're posting all the time, and I can kind of get a graph of. And I know it sounds silly, but I can kind of see what their personality is kind of like through their LinkedIn. So that's what I would do. And again, that's why I think it's so important to build up your LinkedIn. And Sammy, you've got a fantastic LinkedIn. You've been posting loads. I think I've been following you since around December time now. And you get a lot of engagement, and you've built that up very, very nicely. And I think the beautiful thing about that as well, Sammy, and to anybody that is wanting to build up their LinkedIn, is that I know SEOs out there that have got fantastic LinkedIn, and they just have jobs coming inbound to them all the time. They just job offer, job offer, job offer. And they might not necessarily be the best SEO, and I'm not bashing them. I'm just saying in theory. But because they're constantly out there, because they're starting to learn who's out in the industry and engaging with people and showing their findings, then it's going to be on a lot of people's radars. JP put up a post 2 weeks ago of his site getting tanked from the new update, that it just disappeared. And I think it got something like 500 and something likes. And he was sending me today that the SEO manager at Binance is connecting with him, and all these big SEOs are connecting with him. And again, he's just put on the radar. And again, it doesn't have to be for jobs. It could just be you want to talk to somebody in the industry. I think LinkedIn is one of the biggest digital assets everybody should be investing in right now. And yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Sammy says, cheers, guys. I appreciate you, Sammy, as well. Thank you for coming in and asking some questions. Okay, cool. I'm just going to see, Daris, if we've got anything. We do. I wanted to ask, there's quite a lot of SEOs, digital PRs. There's a lot of people out there that have either been made redundant or, they've been in the job market searching for the last 3, 6. I know people out there for 7, 8 months now. The thing is that they're talented, but they just can't find roles. And I know one in particular that's tried to go through us. They tried to go through plenty of other recruitment companies. We've put them forward for interviews, and they don't get put forward and stuff. What advice would you give to them?
It's tough. It's obviously a situation that nobody wants to be in. You do kind of have to look at it as a chance to improve yourself and use this time where you're not sort of in the trenches constantly to develop areas. Like, you'll know yourself if you're slightly weaker in technical compared to on page and things like that. Use this time to upskill in that, get on courses, follow, key people in the industry, ask some questions, get involved in debates on LinkedIn. When applying to roles, or if you're getting even the initial stages of interviews and you're just not getting that offer, ask the hiring managers, ask the SEO director who you're interviewing with for feedback. What was I missing? Was it to do with soft skills? Is that where you need to improve upon? Was it to do with like you just don't have enough technical experience, or maybe people management experience, or things like that? Find that out and then use that and build on that for your next role. Include more about the time that you did, bring up a team or develop a team, things like that, and just slowly create like almost like the perfect candidate as you sort of learn and develop.
Yeah. And look, again, as you said, Daris, it's an awful situation to be unemployed. Awful. But the amount of times I see somebody post on LinkedIn, and it's one of those posts where it's, I hate to come on to LinkedIn, but I've just lost my job. This is what I've done. And they show all their experience and whatnot. And myself and Daris and the team, we get tagged in a lot of them. So we try and do our best to help. But what we'll do is we'll click onto their LinkedIn, and it's basically a ghost LinkedIn. And I know that they've probably been employed for the last 10 years. They haven't had a need to update their LinkedIn. But like, one thing that you should do, because again, it's kind of like SEO. It's like having a website that's basically dead, and then going and building all these lead funnels to get to your website, and then people are on your website and they're like, well, what am I buying? What am I meant to be doing? And it's the exact same with you're about to get all this traffic on LinkedIn to your page. You're going to get loads of DMs. You're going to get loads of people visiting your page. spruce it up. And again, if you need help doing that, like me and Daris, I think we could talk for a whole week on how to do that. Something I'm very passionate about. Some Andy Holland, one of my good friends, is very passionate about it as well. But you can check. We've got a free resource, SEO Interview Blueprint. I'll put it in the links when we throw this up on YouTube and stuff. But honestly, go in there and make your LinkedIn profile as beautiful as possible. Start posting. And for me, if I was unemployed for 6 months, I would figure out, is it a numbers game? Am I applying for 4 roles a month and thinking that I'm going to land one of them because I think I'm such a great SEO? I don't mean that in a mean way, but I think sometimes a lot of these people that have been employed for 10 years plus at great roles and suddenly made redundant, there is a lot of ego in the room, and kind of rightly so. Like, I understand, but I think what you need to do is figure out that the job market, it's not an easy one out there. So you're going to have to do everything in your power to try and get in front of people. And I think the best way as well is, if you have been in the industry for 10 years time and you're a fantastic SEO, I'm sure you've got people in the industry that you can reach out to. Because one thing that we know is that a referral from somebody that's able to vouch for you, or somebody that's worked with you, even if it was on your junior days, it can just go so far. So I would reach out to people like that. And even if you've got friends that do a lot of hiring, just be like, do you mind if we do a dummy interview? It take 15 minutes. I want to see where I'm going wrong. Can you just check my CV for a minute? Like I think the biggest thing is that feedback. So many people, again, and maybe it's an ego thing, they're scared to get feedback. And I think one of my favorite quotes right now is, failure is feedback. Feedback is knowledge. Knowledge is power. So again, we need to treat our failures and try and find the actual feedback within that. And I know I'm not saying that anybody's failed by being made redundant. I know it's hard out there, but right, Daris. One more question. You got anything?
Yeah, I think we touched on soft skills. How important are soft skills at the minute? Because I was just this morning chatting to a head of SEO, and he was saying that a current agency that he's with, they were more orientated around, whenever they're having client meetings, it was all about how much sort of content they could get for them, how much sort of backlinks and all they can get with them. Whereas he's come in and he's now trying to change it all about revenue. How much revenue can they drive to clients? And it's just making so much more sense. And I think if you're a junior SEO at the minute, you really need to start learning about understanding the value of SEO and how it can actually impact your client's bottom line.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably the biggest one that we hear on client calls now. So I'd say 80% of the client calls that we go on, this is new client calls. They've tried to hire for the last 6 months. They've done loads of interviews and they just can't find the right person. And of course, our next question is, well, what kind of common pain points are you seeing along those? And the biggest one is that communication towards CMOs, towards C-suite, towards business owners, whatever it is, that they just don't have that communication level. And again, I feel like nearly sick of talking about it at the minute, because I'm talking about it on every podcast I do, every webinar. Communication is one of the most important things that you can do, especially as an SEO, especially as somebody that's got a very technical heavy role. I think a great story that I love telling, that Eli Schwartz told us on our podcast, is that he was working with a big company and the business owner just wasn't keen for SEO at all. So he knew that the business owner was a basketball fan. So he went into the office, he did a presentation to the team, and the business owner was there. And it was a GIF of a basketball player passing the ball to another basketball player and then him dunking it, getting it in. And it was just on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. And he left it on for a minute or two. And he just turned around and made sure everybody's watching. And then he goes, this is what SEO is. SEO is the assist to help dunk or score, or whatever you want to say. And I think that's and again, I bought the business owner in. So thinking of cool ways to do that. But again, it doesn't have to be that creative. I think all you need to talk about, instead of talking about tech terms, is revenue, bottom line, and profit, really. Well, mostly revenue and stuff, isn't it? The other thing I think is a big pain point that we find that our clients are looking for is a lot of people, and I don't know if this is because of AI has kind of dropped a lot of the low hanging fruit tasks. But I think a big thing out there right now that people are after is strategy. And a lot of our clients are coming to us and they're like, look, we want somebody with an entrepreneurial mindset. And we always ask, well, what does that mean? Well, people that aren't scared to test new things and push the boundaries. And again, like this is from talking to a lot of people that I know within the industry, is that if they do that once, they get scared and don't do it again. But if you do that, then you're never ever going to learn. And I did a great post about perfectionism there, I think 2 days ago. It's from a great book I'm reading at the minute called Hidden Potential, but from Adam Grant. But it was just talking about that you can get in this bubble of trying to be a perfectionist, that you just miss out on so much. And I think that's the beauty of the SEO industry as well, is that to build a better affiliate site, to build a better side project, to build better SEO strategies, you constantly need to be testing the boundaries and failing, learning from that, and then going forward again. Kevin Indig, that was on our podcast, he had a great thing where he has a failure log where every day he'll fail 3 or 4 or 5 times and he'll write down each one of them and what he learned from it. And then every week he'll come back to them and he just glance them all again, which I think is fantastic. But yeah, that would be my answer to that, Daris.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool. Right, I think we covered a lot in this. I really, really enjoyed this, by the way. Yeah, I think we covered a lot in this. And again, thanks for everyone that asked questions. Thanks for everybody that tuned in. We'll throw this up on LinkedIn and socials and all of that if nobody had a chance to watch the whole thing. But from myself and Daris, thank you so much for joining us, and hope everybody's having a great week. It's a Friday, so have a great weekend, everyone.
Cheers.